Hi pals, it's Artie, they them pronouns only. I'm in a bit of a different location. You can see myself over here. Yeah, definitely not my chill dude summer video vibes today. Yeah, I need a bit more time for making videos in like the fun media analysis kind of vibe. So today I wanted to talk about why living rurally sucks. There are so many issues with living rurally which have also directly affected my ability to make videos. And this is all brought to you by after 6 months of waiting for our, is it a septic tank to be fixed? The day we finally get it sorted to be fixed, the people doing it broke our internet wire. And we weren't going to have internet for like 4 days because that happened on a Thursday halfway through the day. Yeah, so coming to you with a long list of so many issues of living rurally as a queer disabled content creator, or what the fuck ever I would deem myself. Okay, so one of the worst things that's happened at home is that basically our house was built by the people who owned it before us. That's not good, or it wasn't good for us. They definitely took a lot of shortcuts. So since moving in, we've kind of had to basically slowly, progressively rebuild the house, which is expensive and also a nightmare. So what happened a couple of years ago now, I think, we basically had this old as fuck American boiler. We are in the UK. I don't know why they put this boiler in, but they did. So that's just what we lived with. We had like a vent system rather than radiators. And then, yeah, at one point in some point in the pandemic, I can't remember exactly what year anymore because it all feels the same, but basically it exploded. There was black smoke pouring out of this cupboard, pouring out of all of the vent systems around the house. It stank, it made everything dirty. I'm pretty sure we're still finding that soot in places. So from there, the reason that exploded was because of being rural. A lot of energy related things are just not built well. I can't remember the specifics of this one because honestly a lot of this stuff just makes me so confused and tired. I just want to curl up into a ball and pretend that I don't exist. But I think it's that we don't get enough power to where we live, so that the low energy levels kept sort of triggering these mini explosions, because it's not the first time it happened, but it was the last and was the biggest. So that is a energy supplier problem, because they hadn't provided or created the right shit for it to work, basically. They basically were refusing to take full responsibility, so only took partial, and I think gave us maybe a third of what we needed to actually get it fixed. But that also took over a year to sort out. They were also like claiming that we were trying to, like, the phrase is betterment of the property. So because it was actually impossible to get a replacement that was like for like, because it's an extremely old boiler and it's American, the parts just do not exist. They are not being made anymore. So it was genuinely impossible to just replace the same thing. But because we couldn't do that, they were trying to claim that we were doing all this for betterment of the property, which is, I think, raising its value, because you're putting in an updated system or some shit. So because of all those issues, we were arguing with them for so long, and then when we finally got some of it and decided to just move forwards, and just have to dip into savings. Well, not even dip into, basically obliterate the savings we'd had at the time. My family pretty much went without heating, like proper heating, for over a year. We lived through a whole winter and then like half of a winter without proper heating in our home. Everything had to be heated by electronics. But again, because of the like power issues, a lot of our electronics were also just not working properly. They were not putting out enough heat to actually keep us warm. Plus, it was during one of the first few astronomical like price hikes in electric in the UK through like the pandemic time. Like, we were spending most of our times wearing many clothes, covered in hot water bottles and those like warm up bean bags, and we had electric heaters everywhere that were just not emitting much heat, as well as like using electric blankets and stuff as well. Now, you know, I'm disabled, multiply disabled, chronically ill, immunocompromised, so at high risk of getting sick from viruses and stuff. My gran is very similar. Both of my grandparents live with us as well, who are now both over the age of 70. Can't remember if that was the case back then, but like, you know, they were close. Obviously my mum, the dog, and my mum's partner as well, and it was just a piss take. Then also the guy who came to fix it was just the worst organizer. He was not turning up the days he said that he or someone would turn up. People would just turn up on random days without telling anybody. Instead of like booking out a block of time, they would come and do like the odd day of work every few weeks. Like, it took a long time for it to be done. More things I forgot about the whole situation and the people fixing and putting in a new system for us. They found asbestos. The guy in charge said it'd be fine. They just have to drill a tiny hole. It's fine. Don't worry about it. When someone came to do the work, they obviously refused to do it because asbestos. That was also a massive, like, several week delay in that whole process. And then we had to get a specialist asbestos team, like asbestos removal team in, who were also booked up for weeks. So that took like 4 to 6 more weeks just to have those people come along to remove the asbestos in the area where like the new boiler was going to be, etc, etc. And then the guy in charge basically claimed to have never have said that it was fine and that they would just do it, and started saying things like, oh, you know, we've got families that we have to worry about, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, then don't say that you'll do something when it's a health and safety risk. But also, I think generally just against like every possible code in existence in most or any job roles. So yeah, another one of the absolutely massive delays in this whole boiler fucking thing. And just really poor communication from him. Also, when I say that, I mean he just straight up lied to us, like a lot. Then we move on to Wi-Fi and internet access and phone signal. My whole family have to be on O2 because otherwise we do not get phone signal. Everyone who comes to my house who's not on O2 can't send text messages, can't send or receive calls. So we've all had to be on O2 because otherwise our fucking mobile phones don't work. And then when it comes to internet, something fun we learned, there is apparently all like internet providers basically have, like, as long as they provide the best service to like a very small percentage of their customer service, they don't actually have to provide that same service to everybody. And because they don't have up-to-date like lines around where we live for the internet. They genuinely just didn't give a fuck, and still don't, that a lot of the times our internet just doesn't work, which is part of what disrupts a lot of my online content, is that the Wi-Fi doesn't work or the power is down, which is the next point. We have power cuts, like, semi-regularly. Planned and unplanned. We have a planned one in a few weeks' time. So that means that anyone who has to work or is working from home has to go into work. Anybody who is at home just can't fucking do anything. I have to use my data and have everything like fully charged and have like portable chargers ready to go so that my phone or whatever doesn't run out of battery. Or I just have to be somewhere else, which is not usually possible, particularly when everybody else has to be out at work. I share a car with my mum at the moment, so if she's gone to work, I'm stuck pretty much.
A lot of the times when this sort of thing happens, I have to use my mobile data, but also even when there isn't a specific kind of like power cut or like Wi-Fi issue, we just have constant Wi-Fi issues anyway. A lot of the times Wi-Fi doesn't reach the entire house. A lot of the Wi-Fi doesn't seem to connect in my room for some reason. We've had people suggesting that it may be something to do with because we have a vent system in our home. So that means that there's a lot more metal layers between rooms in the house, which may disrupt the Wi-Fi. Don't ask me, I have no idea. This is just what other people have theorised to us. And yeah, just a lot of the times I'm using my mobile data anyway at home to do anything, just because a lot of the internet access does not work to my phone, sometimes doesn't want to connect to my laptop, and I've still got stuff I need to do. So that's why I have a high data package on my mobile. This one's going to be a niche one as well, but we also just don't have plug sockets in normal places, or enough of them. We just don't have enough plug sockets anywhere, and at one point we had a lot more put in place, but even then that still tends to mean that we have to use a lot of extension cords, which is not really great for a lot of reasons, but otherwise we literally cannot use plug sockets in this house. So yeah, when we move, I'd really like a house with some decent plug sockets.
But we have regular power cuts that are unplanned. Not sure why, but the power just always seems to trip. And there are days when it happens multiple times a day. It's impossible to do anything when there's power cuts, really. You can't cook a lot of things.
You can't open the fridge or freezer too much that day in case it warms them up too much, which is also a high risk for my medications that are in the fridge. We have had a letter this time though to say that it's possible that they can actually do something to like, I don't know, keep that medication safe. So we are looking into that option, but nobody's ever mentioned this to us before in other times that we've had planned power cuts. So I don't know.
You have to like get matches or a lighter to light the hob if you're going to cook something on the hob. Everything else obviously doesn't work. You can't just sit and wait it out. Depending on what time it is as well, depends on if you have any lights, what time of year as well. Like, in the evenings in summer is less bad than evenings in winter when you literally just cannot fucking see anything.
And it's cold, obviously.
And yeah, sometimes even if you do go and like sort it out yourself, it can still like immediately trip again or trip again a bit later. They happen so often. I don't know, it seems especially in the summer, but all year round is pretty bad. Like, it does mean that I can still edit things on my laptop, but then it means that I can't actually upload anything or do anything online that's related to my work, pretty much, to my developing creative career, please and thank you. And just like there's no support for it. No one gives a fuck. They do not care. And yeah, to the current issue of the septic tank, that broke in January of this year, 2023. It broke right before the showcase. we weren't sure if we could or were allowed to shower, bath, use the toilet. For the last 6 months, we've been basically having to dispose of toilet paper in the bin rather than flushing it, which I know is like pretty standard in a lot of places in Europe, but there's a reason why it's a standard in other places. And it's usually to do with how capable the plumbing system is. It basically probably broke because of extreme weather. Where I live, it's a lot of clay. A lot of clay. It is clay. The soil here, well, not here, I'm not at home, but the soil at home is clay. And I think just a lot over the last few years, we've just had a lot more torrential rain, and I think there was just a pretty bad bout of it in sort of early January, along with it being like a really cold winter, like one of the colder winters we've had in a while. And that's what everybody said. That's probably the reason for it. It's not that it was necessarily put in wrong or put in badly, but speak to the insurance and they've been telling us to fuck ourselves. And basically we came to the point that even with the support of one insurance who said that they would pay their part, and this lady who's been, she's not an ombudsman, but like she supports with like appeals and legal things to do with this stuff, plumbing, I don't know. Again, a lot of this stuff is so confusing because I'm extremely anti-capitalist. This stuff makes no sense to me. But literally just like we've had all these people trying to help us and advise us on things, and trying to convince this other insurance that they need to just fucking pay up. They just keep coming up with new reasons why they're not going to and what needs to be done, like moving the goalposts, as well as like taking weeks to respond. So we finally decided that it was time to just go ahead with getting it sorted, take the percentage that one insurance was providing, and again, rinse the savings that we have to get it put in, and then to get some photos of what? I don't really know, to be honest. Shit in a hole. To get photos as like evidence of, I don't know, that it was installed properly, question mark, to send it to the lady who's been supporting us and to this other guy who has been helping with like advice because he does this for a living, so he is well versed in this shit. I don't know, no pun intended. And to then get the money afterwards from that other insurance. We also only have two insurances because one insurance decided one day that they don't actually want to cover the whole property anymore for no reason, and they can't actually give proper reasons as to why they changed their minds.
And each different person we speak to contradicts each other and themselves and can't make up their minds of whether we are covered by just the one insurance or not, and that's still literally happening now.
And a lot of their contracts actually say that it does cover the whole property, so there's a lot of question marks over did we have to get this other insurance, but also just generally what are we paying for when it comes to insurance if that like neither of them do their job properly, or especially like one of them just refuses to pay out when something goes wrong. And then yeah, so because we made that decision to finally like just move forward with this, rinse the savings again, that also took time to organise. That someone had to deliver the actual tank, and then that was sat there for a week or so, again in severe weather warning vibes. It was high winds. We were surprised it was still even standing. We were concerned it was going to break. Then they finally turned up to start working, and apparently it was literally within the last 20 minutes of their like what they had to do that day, and they snapped our phone line, which is our Wi-Fi. Like, I am on the side of the house where that cord is attached. I felt it and I heard it happen, and I could see this wire hanging over the other wire, and I went over to my mum who was working from home, and I was like, I think something has happened. And she says, they've cut the phone line. I was like, I think so. And I could see on her screen that all of her internet had dropped. So she went out to look, Yes, the company said that they would cover it, but no independent person would touch it because of where and how it broke. Like, because it was something to do with being pulled out from the box, they aren't allowed to touch the box or something. So we had to contact BT about it, who couldn't get anybody out until Tuesday, which will have been the Tuesday a couple of days ago when this goes up. So this happened on the Thursday of last week for you, and obviously Friday I had plans. I was going to see Barbie. So we had to work out how we were going to navigate all of this last minute change so that everyone could still do everything that was planned.
Whilst my mum also lost a half day of wages.
Luckily, my mum's partner could get his computer to work at home off of his like phone hotspot. My mum couldn't get hers to work from hers, so she went into work. I got dropped off the station by her partner and then just immediately came down to like Littlehampton sort of area, which is where I am in this video, where my mum's partner's house is. We were coming here anyway. I'd packed my little bag and stuff because we wanted to take Layla to the beach, pretty much. We wanted to take the dog to the beach, and just sort of get out of our usual routine of being at home. Also, we have really shit water pressure because the pipes are so small and they are full of limescale.
You can't have more than one person using the water in the house, otherwise it's basically just trickling and does nothing.
I have no access to public transport really. There is a bus that I can walk to, but there's no pavement to it. No idea when it turns up. It's supposed to be once an hour, might not be. No idea where it goes because I've never actually taken it, so I don't really trust it. There's another bus that I get dropped off at sometimes. Takes like an hour to get to Brighton. That also only comes like once, maybe twice an hour.
It also does not run very late on weekends.
The train in the village, once an hour in either direction. Everywhere I have to get a lift to as well, pretty much. Like I can't just walk around the corner to a bus stop or whatever. Everything, I need somebody to take me there because of how rural we are. It is not only not safe to walk, but also generally impossible for me to do those kinds of walks. They are just too far for me. And like I said, I share the car with my mum, so a lot of the times it's just easier for me to be dropped off at public transport by her rather than using the car. Because as well, a lot of parking is so expensive in town. Yeah, it just makes more sense to be dropped in rather than spend like £10 for parking or something ridiculous, depending on which car park and how long for. But yeah, so these kinds of issues not only just generally disrupt my life all the time, which is why I want to move anyway, for other reasons as well, but it also just like directly impacts my ability to make the content I want to make. I pretty much had Thursday free. I was going to carry on watching Skins to make my notes, and I couldn't. I had one episode that was already like downloaded. That was it. That's all I could watch. Even though I had a feeling I probably wouldn't have a video link to that ready by this week. I thought I would at least have a decent amount of like the watching and note making done so that I can separate them into like different and smaller video ideas and start working on those as videos. But it also meant that if I did that and we still hadn't sorted out the Wi-Fi, or that the Wi-Fi stuff had happened after I'd already made those notes, I wouldn't be able to upload the video unless like I got a lift somewhere where I could access Wi-Fi, like either to a friend's house or like the library or something. I've got a really dead foot and I don't know why. It's sorry dead. Yeah, there's a lot of other reasons as well why living so rurally sucks, and there's a lot of reasons why living rurally is quite nice as well. I will say there's nothing more magical than looking out your window and seeing a literal herd of wild deer just hanging out. We are the only neighbours that haven't built a fence to keep them out because we like them. We like seeing them. They're so nice. And that's like the main thing that I will miss, along with my dog Layla having access to like a big safe field for her to run around like a mad dog in. We probably wouldn't have that if we move, particularly somewhere less rural. But it's starting to get to the point where the cons outweigh the pros. But yeah, I don't know when I'll get a media related video out again, because next weekend I am in Norway, so I might have a Norway video going up. And then the weekend after that I will be in Birmingham, maybe a Birmingham video, I don't know. So I don't know how much actual time and brain capacity I will have for watching, like rewatching shows and making notes on them to then make into a video. But yeah, I wanted to make this video to kind of explain how frustrating a lot of these things are. A lot of these things people take for granted generally. And like you shouldn't have to worry about this sort of thing. To me it was, and still is, incredibly enraging that all of these different people involved in all these different problems we've had have genuinely just left a family of 5 plus a dog, who are almost all disabled people, to be cold, be unable to eat, be unable to do their job safely, because like that's the main reason why my mum and stuff still work from home, is it's safer for everybody but also better for them mentally and physically as well, and required us to magically just have some fucking money to pay for this stuff that should be covered because of insurance, or because it was, you know, not a fault of our own. Like the whole boiler thing was caused by a surge, so like an energy surge. You know, it should not be this way. You should not have to prove all these things. You should not have to fight all this shit. Someone should just come and fix these things. Like, these are pretty much basically like basic human rights at this point. Shelter, warmth, food, access to work and socialization, and access to a hygienic plumbing, sewage, toilet system. But that is life under capitalism. Thank you and good night. Yeah, a lot of these are reasons why we would like to move somewhere less rural, somewhere less isolated generally, somewhere with a bit more of like a community and a safety net, I guess. Obviously a lot of these issues happen anywhere, but they just seem to happen to us constantly. Like as soon as, like literally as soon as one thing is sorted, another thing happens. As soon as we finally got the boiler fixed, the septic tank went. As soon as we were getting the septic tank fixed, the Wi-Fi. And like, I'm not even the one who has to directly deal with all this stuff. That is literally my mum. This poor woman. This poor woman needs a break. But it's just generally inhumane that we just allow this shit to happen all the time. Yeah, I hope that this video gives you an insight into some of the barriers I have outside of my disability to just doing literally anything. And I really appreciate everyone's support on all of my videos. Please support the boring ones as much as the fun and interesting ones, as much as you can anyway, because I'd like to at least reach that 1,000 subscribers this year. I'm probably still a way off for meeting that, like, what, 4,000 watch hours or whatever it is. So yeah, you watching my videos on repeat would be great. Just put me on in the background on mute. You don't even have to listen to me, just have me playing in the background. I really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, have a little chat with me in the comment section. It boosts the video to the suggested. People get me suggested when you help me boost the algorithm. Before I was making the media videos, this is kind of like what my videos were talking about, was just the daily and regular battles of being a disabled person and some educational related content to do with disability stuff. So whilst this is more vloggy, sit down venting about the bullshit that's going on, this is still, yeah, important to talk about, both just generally to let people know that this stuff is still, like, is happening in 2023. Like, it's just so ridiculous. As well as, like, letting you know and letting you in on what's going on for me and how that may affect what I do and what I'm making here. Because, yeah, I love making my videos. I especially have been really enjoying making the media videos, particularly around, like, I mean, I like making all of them, but it definitely seems to be that the autistic ones do a lot better than the others. I see you. I've been really enjoying making them, and I really want to sit down and make more of them. But bullshit gets in the way. I have enough on my plate. That's enough slices. That's enough slices. It's a scarecrow again, except the scarecrow's capitalism. Anyway, I may also have a video for you about the access of trying to fucking watch Barbie, because oh my god, was that a farce. Anyway, yeah. Working on some skins videos. The current ideas so far are talking about disability generally in skins, queerness generally in skins, but also specifically looking at Emily and Naomi, because I feel like that was the first woman-loving woman, queer women relationship I really saw on TV. And then whenever I can work out how to watch Gilmore Girls somewhere, I'll make a Paris Geller is Autistic video as well. But again, that means I have to rewatch it. It's been a little while since I've watched that one, and I like to be more informed when I make the sort of like deep dive analysis-y kind of videos versus like my headcanon videos where I'm just like, it's just vibes here. These are just vibes. So I'm just going to talk some shit. And yeah, I'm still like mulling over some Spider-Man videos. I'm not going to lie. I'm still mulling over like what I would like to talk about in Spider-Man. Definitely autism. Anyway, so that's my vent for today. Like I said, please support this video, support the other videos that are already up. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next week. Bye.